This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to learn. Hello, Alex.
Hi, Erica. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
I brought a familiar face to our podcast today. Hi, Ember.
Hello. Hello. Lovely to see you both.
It's been such a long time since we've caught up, so we need to definitely do a face-to-face at some stage. But thank you so much for joining us here today.
My pleasure. How could you resist an invite to Giraffes Don't Eat Steak?
Oh, you're my favorite. You're my favorite. So, Alex, how long has it been since we worked with Amber? Oh, my goodness.
It was so long ago that the last time we saw her, I had hair.
That's true. You did have hair.
I was just about to say we all look the same as long as you don't sort of lean in too much.
That would be a big lie.
Except for Amber and I, we look stunning. So
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
There you go. I think you got the short straw there, Alex.
I did. I own it.
So Amber, you are the owner of Digital Willow. Tell our listeners about you and your agency.
Thank you. So yes, Digital Willow, we're a growth consultancy in the digital marketing space. And over the last few years, we've been niching into an area we like to call making complex buyer journeys more simple. So what does that exactly mean? It means that if you're looking to do an impulse buy, we're not the agency for you. So if you're buying a Kit Kat or a Snickers, but if you are a brand that is struggling to sell more services or products to customers that are like, you know, they've got a more complex buyer journey. There might be lots of touch points or lots of different people involved in the decision making, then we're the agency for you. So that tends to give us kind of a lot of experience around finance and insurance products, or a B2B SaaS product where you might need to get lots of different people to sign off the tech before it's pulled into the business, or if you're buying property or real estate, something like that. And well, I don't know about you, but I certainly didn't buy my property just on a whim or an impulse, but I suppose it does happen.
That's fantastic. And that's how we met and were working together, was in insurance sales, right? And
exactly.
Yeah, that's was where we started our journey together. So across the digital, because digital marketing is this broad landscape, isn't it? What is your touch points? Like, are you lead gen? Are you brand? Are you like, what is the realm of digital marketing for you?
I think we don't sort of specialize in the lead gen or brand, because what we're doing is looking at the customer journey. And
okay,
I think that part of our ethos is if you break down all the different touch points and really challenge yourself on talking to people where they are in that journey. So like if I'm aware I need to buy something, but I haven't done any comparison, and maybe it's a complex product like a mortgage or an insurance product, you can't just go in there with a message that says, oh, here are all the product specifications. You know, there's different messages at different times of the journey. So breaking that down, figuring out what the triggers are, and then talking to your prospects in a different way across that journey, we think is super, super important. And that kind of carves out how we solve and pull together strategies for our clients. So more often than not in today's economy, there is a huge element of lead gen. But we're finding ourselves challenging customers more and more because everybody wants to go for the sort of pointy end of lead gen. But if you don't do enough to generate awareness around the brand, you're not even in that buyer journey. You're not even in the consideration set. So, and we've got a lot more studies now to prove this, because it was a bit hard, you know, maybe even 5-6 years ago to prove, but we've got a lot more data on it now. So yes, it's been interesting, and that's kind of, it leads us into this space of like an independent kind of advisor on how you can be, how can you speed up a buyer journey, or how can you speed up a decision-making process if there's lots of different touch points and it tends to take, it's not like something that might happen in a day. Yes. And of course, like I know you guys have been discussing AI has had a huge impact on what we do, making it very, very interesting sector to be working in. I love it, but then I'm AI friendly. I know not everyone is.
That's true. So how do you research and look at what kind of triggers you need to be thinking about in the buyer journey? I mean, obviously it depends per industry, but I guess, do you have a kind of a go-to method of understanding the customer's triggers?
Yeah, we've got a model and lots of research tools, and I think that it's also interesting to consider some of the trends that are really affecting how you plan across that journey. And like, I don't know, I was thinking two things that are on my mind at the moment, and we seem to be having more and more conversations with clients is like, how far do you go towards personalization of messages versus the kind of trust and privacy laws that are almost pulling the other direction?
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting one. So like personalization for me is a topic I'm fascinated by. We've just finished some case studies around it, and the results are extremely compelling, like 80% increase year on year on leads, for example. Wow. If you personalize a message based on different data triggers. But then there is some bad rap for it as well, like in the industry, as you guys would know. So like, I mean, I don't know how you two feel about getting served an ad that's recognized what you've been browsing on or what you've been reading. Are you pro or against?
Well, it depends. It depends which part of me you're asking me.
And if it's tolerable for your mother's eyes in case they're peering over.
Yeah.
And I think my answer was going to be it depends, right? Because it depends on what it is. If it's maybe I've got a family relative who's been diagnosed with cancer or something, and it's something like that, I probably would be like, oh my goodness, that's why are you in my personal space? Where if it's flowers because it's I'm a mom and it's Mother's Day, I think that's a little bit different. So I think it depends, right, on what how sensitive the trigger is for me.
And also for me, it depends on how they gathered that data, because I know they have listening data. They also have data from when you are with somebody who is, they know if you're spending a lot of time with someone because of location data, and if that person is searching for something, then it can appear on your feed. At that point, I'm a bit like,
yes,
that's knowing with that person.
Yeah.
There is an element of
you now know what I'm going to buy you for your birthday.
Yeah. Exactly. There is an element of creepy stalker at that point. But on the other hand, if I think of it with my marketing hat, it's really cool. It's really cool, and it's very, very powerful. But from a consumer point of view, I can see why it's slightly off-putting.
Yeah, and I don't know what you guys think, but for me, I think in the B2B world or complex buyer journeys, in things that are a bit more what you call practical, I suppose, I mean, as a consumer myself, if I'm served ads that have no relevance to me, that is really annoying.
Yeah.
Versus if I'm served something that I think is helpful because it's actually what I'm in the market for at the time, then I have a positive response to it. But like, I don't know. I think maybe in the B2B world, there is this growing trend, particularly around personalization, and they're adapting it maybe a little slower than their retail cousins. But I don't think that's such a bad thing.
Yeah, I think in B2B, because there's a gap between your personal life and your business, right? There's a space.
Exactly.
So I think on a B2B perspective, I don't have any qualms on the personalization. For me, that makes sense, right? But I think it's on the B2C, that's where I start feeling like, ooh. And I mean, even your examples, Alex, were about B2C, right? That were uncomfortable.
Yeah, I guess so. It depends on the product. But like, how far can you go with personalization on B2B? I mean, if we're talking about, if we
So
think
I'll
about,
give you some examples that we've just used recently. Oh, sorry.
no, continue.
Some examples would be a company's just received funding, like Series A or Series B funding. So for a company that received funding like that, they may be interested in different growth products, or they may want to recruit a whole bunch of people. You can pull into programmatic buying if a company's just opened a new office. And so like trying to understand the nuances around that, you know that they've got a new office. What might that mean? They might need new IT. They might need new furniture for the office. Say that again.
Cleaners. I
They might need cleaners.
I was working with a cleaning company recently, and I've suggested that trigger to say if someone has just moved offices, people like to change things. They may not like the person who's already incumbent, so go for it.
Well, and it's a perfect time, isn't it? Having been someone who's just done that herself. Sometimes hard to say, you know, goodbye and start anew with your cleaners. But anyway, I digress. I think, like, if you received a message that said, congrats on your Series B funding or your Series A funding, ready to scale and hire more people, do you think that that would be something that is useful to hiring managers or a bit too creepy?
No, that's useful.
That's
For me, that's
useful.
useful. Yeah.
That's
I think it's useful too. But then I guess what I'm finding in conversations is if you can, there's different ways of doing it. So Meta and Google, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this, but they are out there saying they can do personalization within the platform. So you just upload various different assets and it goes for it. And I would say that this is certainly a recommendation not to allow them to do that. It's like getting an engineer to interior design your house. No offense to engineers or software developers, but maybe their idea of color palette and logo and, you know, those combinations are not exactly how you perceived your house would look in this example. So I think there's really bad examples of it too. So like, for example, what Google will do if you allow this switch, which by the way, when you set up a new account, it has it like enabled innately, which is just bonkers to me. So they can take your logo and your brand palette and they can put an ad onto a website. And their view is that if it matches the website you're viewing's colors, so it matches their color palette, the ad will be, it'll look more integrated with the website and have better performance. So they'll literally change your logo or colors. I know.
That is terrible.
I know.
Okay.
So yeah, there's some really bad examples of it out there too. So I think it's like finding that I don't know, fine line that between and I guess to me that also kind of brings me to the topic of trust. Yeah, and like I feel like I'm having more and more conversations because of cybersecurity. Like everything is just getting hacked at the moment, it feels like. How do you not just become known to your audience, but how do you build up trust without telling people you can trust us?
Because that's the number one red flag.
It is, isn't it?
To not trust somebody if they say trust me.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, I think like if you had to give yourself, like brands out there, if you had to give yourself a trust score, what would that trust score be? Is a really interesting one. And then what are the sort of tactics to improve that? And I think that AI is like really driving this lack of trust as well, which is a really interesting thing in our space of marketing. How do you kind of combat that?
I mean, Alex and I both have this insurance background, and trust was so major in that space, right? But the way that we built trust there was through blue and boring and stodgy logos. right?
Well,
That was sort of the
And well-
brand
cornerstone.
consistency is important. Yeah. It's just,
and well-known figures.
there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
That's a big one. That's a
That's
big
true.
one. And like,
Ah.
I think there's still something to be said for like having like a person, a face to the name of the brand, like what's actually happening.
That worked well. I mean, that definitely worked well for us in B2C, and you see a lot of influencers in B2C. I mean, do you have any experience, or have you seen any examples or done anything yourself where you have any physical representation of a brand or a product in the B2B space?
A physical representation? What do you mean by that?
Oh, sorry, I mean like a person or
Oh, like a human. I remember them, real people.
yeah, like a human. But, you know,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, totally. I think real people, particularly from a company, makes a huge difference. Like at the moment, we're looking at redoing our website, and I've been doing this competitive review on all the other agencies around us, and it's amazing to me when I think about what we do as a business, how people heavy it is, how many of these websites have 0 people on them.
Yeah.
But then I also think, and I'm trying to do this myself because I've been in the marketing game for a while now, but I need to remind myself constantly that authenticity, like real people talking like we are now, trumps polished, beautiful brand ads every time. It's
Every
about
time.
kind of, getting out there faster and being real and being authentic rather than, coming up with one beautiful big brand ad a year. I just don't think you can afford to do that anymore. Yeah. But it makes people uncomfortable because they want to be seen in the best light.
Yeah. Or not seen. Some
Or
people like
not
being
seen even,
behind
yeah.
the scenes, right? They don't want to be seen. We, I think some of the work we've done, Alex, has been almost the first thing is put your people on the website, right? That's been almost a part of our first is you need to show that people work here.
Yeah.
And we've done that work, and then creating webinars where the owner, CEO, founder starts talking. You have to be more visible. And I don't know about you, Alex, but even years after we moved on from that company, they're still doing it, and I still, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, yay. Even though it was I think probably a 1-year battle to get the first one up, but now it's happening all the time. You're like, yes.
I mean, it's hugely beneficial, especially if you position, say, the CEO or whatever of the company as a thought leader in the industry, and is constantly delivering value in terms of intellectual value to people through their platforms or speaking at events or whatever. Not necessarily selling their products, but they're creating. In fact, almost never selling the product.
Never selling.
Yeah.
Exactly, and they're just creating an aura of trust and value, and that has a massive halo effect on the business itself.
I like that, an aura of trust. That's a nice one.
And especially SaaS, right? Tech companies or even insurance, right? Stuff that's not that tangible. You can't go and look at it and turn it around and feel it. You need something to believe in, because if you think about, tangible trust, I think like a car or whatever, it's a physical thing. You've got a different elements.
True.
You don't need to see the owner or whatever. I mean, you can ignore Tesla. Let's leave that aside for a second. But you know what I mean? You don't need to see who made the car. It's got a different element, but it's because it's tangible. Whereas it's the intangible, right? It's the software. It's that you can't actually put your hands on. That I think then the owner has to build that trust, or a spokesperson. If it's not the owner, if it's not the CEO or the founder, you put, whether it's the CRO or the CMO or someone else, who is then that voice, right?
Yeah, such a good point. And like even if we're looking at this just purely from an ad format point of view, there's maybe 12 different ads you can run, paid ads you can run on LinkedIn. And by far, again and again, the best performing ads are when it's a team member that's been sponsored. So they call them thought leadership ads, like put some sponsorship behind that and like amplify that to your audience. So rather than, you know, the little ads in the corner. And I think it's because of that point. You're highlighting someone's point of view. It's more authentic because it's a human, you trust it. At the end of the day, okay, we want to justify our reasons by the cost or the price or whatever it might be, the shipping, the kind of rational things, but people buy from people. And if you don't like the person you're dealing with, even if they're the cheapest deal or, you know, they've got the best star reviews, I don't reckon you'll go with them. I don't think I would, even though I'd like to think I'm a rational human. I don't know.
Yeah. So, Ember, of all the channels available, and there's so many new ones springing up, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's hard. That's a hard one. I think, I'm in love with 3 at the moment.
Okay.
That's, you know, it's like asking me to choose my favorite child. But I think
I know everybody has one because I think I'm the favorite child of.
Okay, right. But you don't tell like everyone on the podcast, do you, Alex? You see.
No, I'm humble. So.
I think it would be connected TV, digital out of home, and Reddit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Reddit. That's not something
Unexpected.
you see every day. Yeah.
And I think maybe it's because I'm a bit nerdy, but I like they're boosting up their advertising spaces. It's definitely got this raw opinion kind of blog style feel. It's the sort of thing that people think if you're on there, you've got a bit of an edge to you. You're quite cutting edge. You're willing to take a bit of whiplash because you may get the odd comment, negative or positive. But it's got a very loyal audience, and they're certainly not on mainstream TV or print at all. In fact, you tend to find these people not even big users of like outdoor transport or out and about that much. So it's a very interesting kind of niche audience, but you can really tap into some incredible conversations, even if that's about your competitors and how to position some of your like core messages you want to get out there just by listening to what other people are saying, or whether you're building up yourself as a thought leader by answering questions. And also Reddit, one more thing I like about it is all the LLMs are pulling it in as a source of authority.
Oh, wow.
That for some reason it's ranking quite high on the algorithms for them.
So what are the main formats on Reddit in terms of advertising? And you also just mentioned becoming a sort of thought leader on there. That sounds time consuming. Well, I mean,
it is time consuming. So, I mean, the main formats off the top of my head, you're pushing me, but the one I like is in feed. So you're within the feed and the ad comes up, so it's really hard to resist. And you can do video as well, which I, big fan of if you can muster it, or you can do a single image. There's also ads on the side, but the ones in feed look a bit more native. What was your other question, Alex? Oh, how do you become an influencer? I think, so very good point. I reckon it takes forever, but if you've spoken to any SEO experts at the moment, it's so difficult to, like, clicks are on the decline.
Yeah.
LLMs are pulling in snippets of articles, so you can literally get the information you need by not even going to someone's website as much as you were. So how do you get around that? How do you still be relevant? And like, it's conversations. And if you can get a Reddit sort of thread of people talking about your brand or your topic, it helps you rank quite highly. So yeah, it's a massive effort, but I think if you've got someone that's managing your SEO full time, then this should be a significant component of it, if it makes sense for your business and service, obviously.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I like it. And would you say you have to be controversial? Is that the best way to rank up there? Is do something
Oh, wow.
controversial?
How many brands have you worked with, Erica, that are comfortable being controversial?
Not one.
I think I think if we did that, nobody would go for it. But I think what you do have to do is be comfortable that you might get a bit knocked around the ears.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But it's better to be in the conversation rather than nowhere to be seen and trying to be more relevant to a younger, more tech-savvy audience, you know. I mean, Reddit sort of started out with, I think the core audience was kind of people in tech and developers and that sort of thing. So it's definitely got a strong heritage in that space. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Wild West of the advertising channels right now, I guess, isn't it? Because there is, like you said,
It is.
let's say protection. You kind of have to be ready for a little bit of battle.
You do. Get ready to be boxed around the ears a bit, which is, yeah.
But to be fair, it's the same with Facebook. It's the same with all of these. I mean, and you know, unless you're ready to have somebody say you're wrong or you're an idiot or something, then and this is why a lot of, especially the regulated industry, right, insurance, and that's why they stay clear, because they just not ready for that.
Yeah. For them, I'd say connected TV all the way.
Okay, talk to us a bit about connected TV.
Well, because they're all tapped into like programmatic systems now, we can get brands like in programs on connected TV. And I guess much as a user, I don't like this, but Prime have nicely paved the way for us to get used to the odd 60-second, 90-second ad in our paid subscription. What the heck? And so it's rolling out everywhere. What was that, Alex?
I saw on Disney, I think it is now, they're doing that, and they've got 3 tiers. The first tier is you pay for it, but you still have ads. The second tier is no ads. Third tier is more devices or whatever. I saw that the other day, and I was like, that is outrageous.
It is outrageous, isn't it? But I guess, you know, with my marketing hat on, it's an incredible opportunity because it's still short enough that most people will sit through 60 seconds, 90 seconds. It's a prestigious format, like it's a nice big format. It's connected to your sound system inevitably. So you're getting the full screen sound, video, image. And so it makes an impact. It just doesn't have that interactive feel, but then you can also, you know, you can now get on various different, like, somebody was saying to me, they saw our ad in, what is that? Just Married at First Sight Australia, which I still haven't watched, by the way, but it's meant to be hilarious. So you can get your ads in incredible shows that you wouldn't be able to get if you went to the networks directly, for a much lower price point. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but you are right about people not being too bothered about the ads and getting used to it. I'm still using YouTube a lot, and it wasn't that long ago that there were very few ads, especially like the very few like the ad rolls at the beginning of the video. I remember when it started, when they basically putting ad rolls on every single video. In the beginning, it was kind of frustrating, but I've forgotten that now. Now it just seems normal to go on YouTube and just wait 5 seconds to press the skip button.
Yeah.
I think there's an element of
time.
Yeah, just time, like the initial resistance of like, oh God, this is annoying, but actually I love the content, so I am gonna wait.
And do you think that it's, even though it really annoys you, you're gonna ever upgrade?
Am I gonna? No.
No, me either. And it does annoy me. But then the flip side, I kind of think, well, actually, it's probably quite interesting to see what ads are running. You never know.
But is that because we're in marketing? Because that's the other part, right? Because I know I subscribe to everything. I want to see all the ads. And then every now and again, I'm like, why am I doing all this? I'm like, oh no, I'm in marketing. This is why I want. I want to see it. I want to see it.
Yeah,
we're not the ordinary man, right? Not when it comes to marketing.
that's true. That's true. But every now and then you're like, oh, I was looking for that product.
Exactly.
Actually, that's quite helpful. Yeah.
So I've got a question about your model. So we're talking about the funnel that you help businesses with. So the upfront awareness stage and then the lead stage. So Eric and I have experienced the side where we've worked with the sales team and we've got leads in, and we've seen firsthand how sales teams just say the leads are crap. And that then makes that company look bad within the company that you're working with, for example. So I'm just wondering, do you also help with the sales fulfillment side, or do you just do a bit of consulting there, or do you just deliver the lead there, or does it depend by client? And also, how do you combat those comments about leads if you're not actually helping with the sales side?
Yeah, it's such a common one, isn't it? And like marketing and sales are meant to work together, and often you find that there's this tug of war going on. I think the short answer to that question is it depends on how the business we're working with is set up. Most of the time, if we can get in from a consultative point of view, we will include the sales teams, sometimes even customer service too, because they can be like the first step through the door on answering questions that some of the lead generation's made. And it's just about trying to get everyone, as I'm sure you guys know, to think we're on the same team here. But I have seen some shocking things, like leads that have come through marketing that need to be manually registered into certain Salesforce or, systems within a company, and then sales teams not want to give marketing the credit because, well, they get extra credits themselves depending on how they're enumerated and that sort of thing. So look, it can be tricky, but I think you've just got to, there's certain things you can do as a consultant, right? If the CEO has set up the business so that those two teams are almost competing against each other from a KPI point of view, you'll feel that as you're trying to help solve the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had a great conversation about that the other day, didn't we, Erica, with another guest, of trying to harmonize the two teams and rethinking the incentive structure for sales and marketing.
Oh yeah. Did it work, rethinking the incentivization, or it didn't get to that point? You were in brainstorm mode.
Well, no,
it worked for him. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That's the kind of business model in his business that he has. And then for his sales consultancy side, or his business consultancy side, I'd say for companies that he's working with, that's where he tries to make changes if possible. Obviously it can be difficult, but that's the advice that he gives.
Yeah. I think also most businesses don't have a score for a lead. Is not just a lead, right? How do you define a quality lead or a qualified lead? So understanding what that is, in many ways, if we get a testimonial from the sales team, saying these are the best quality leads we've ever seen, that is so much more powerful to us as feedback than we got a really low CPL, because it could be anything. It could be a bot. It could be the complete wrong audience.
Exactly. Anyone can get low CPL. Anyone can get a low CPL.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got like my mum's filling in forms all the time.
Yeah. Your mum is the human bot.
Yes. Gosh, I hope she doesn't listen to this.
She was our number 2 follower, I didn't tell you.
There you go. Oh, dear.
There's also a trend, I don't know if you're seeing the same trend, but I'm feeling it, of people insourcing a lot of their marketing activities rather than outsourcing, and then having one person who suddenly is responsible for everything. Are you seeing that trend, Amber? Like they literally...
I'm not seeing that trend. It sounds crazy to me. That poor human.
Or job specs come out, right, for head of marketing, and then you look at the detail of the job and they're like, this person needs to do everything. You've got to be able to do graphic design, and you've got to be able to do SEO and copywriting and paid ads and it's like,
Well, obviously a marketer didn't write that job description because they didn't niche it, they didn't create their audience properly. That's like us trying to sell dresses to everyone, you know?
Every
Like,
single person, this dress
yeah,
is going to work.
yeah, exactly. That's like the number one, don't sell to everyone.
It is, isn't it? It is.
Unless you're
I think-
selling oxygen. Well, no.
Yeah.
Great.
The topic of niching is a really interesting one, not just from a marketer's point of view, from a business's point of view as well. It's amazing how many people don't want to niche. And I think I put myself in that bucket because some humans, and I think I sometimes call myself my own worst enemy, because when you love learning, if you've learned something over and over again, thought of doing it repeat for the rest of your life is really dull. But I think that that cognitive load is like a real thing. We are so bombarded with messages and so many communications and so many different things we've got to do. God forbid this poor head of marketing person you're just talking about, Erica, that if something's not really simple and not repeated to you many times, you just won't get it. You won't get what the brand's wanting you to do, or yeah.
It's like one of the simplest principles, but it is actually one of the hardest to execute.
Yeah, it is.
In the way that if
And
you
you feel the resistance, don't you? Because you're
no,
like,
exactly, that's
well,
what I
these
mean.
people might like us, or
Exactly. That's my point. Like you don't want to, you almost feel bad for leaving someone out.
yeah,
Whereas
totally.
yeah.
but
Yeah.
the opposite of that, the ease and the release that comes with being absolutely clear, right? I did a session, I think 2 weeks ago now, with someone. I was working with them through their niche. And the moment, like for me, the joy, like the moment I could see the light bulb come on, where she was like, oh, so and it was like, I don't sell to everyone. No, you don't. Like she's like, oh, so when I'm talking to these people, they're only interested in this. Yes, that's the whole point of niching, is talking to someone with what they're interested in. It's the same as with your personalized ads that you were talking about. It's exactly the same.
Yeah,
If you're trying to send a message to everyone with the same message, you're going to be are you surprised that only those that are interested are going to raise their hands or click? And then you're saving all that money, right? By not advertising, and obviously when you're paying for your ads, not when you're paying per click, but not advertising to those who didn't want you, just focusing on those who did.
Yeah,
and that's the same
100%.
with niching, isn't it? It's exactly the same thing.
It is. So one of the words you just said then, have you, I think Brene Brown does this amazing presentation on how clarity is kindness. Yeah. But I love her work. So it's actually infused how we're moving into our niche. But I just think there's so many reasons why trying to, whether it's niche or create clarification, like it's so helpful because it drives action. If you understand something, a really simple strategy or concept, it doesn't matter then, therefore, if it's the CEO or the finance team or whoever the other stakeholders are. If you can understand a concept, then you're much more likely to act on it.
Yeah.
Like the number of times I'll get something in my inbox from my team, if it's not really clear, I'm like, oh, I need to do that with a fresh brain,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where also internal discussions and internal marketing or marketing strategy and trying to communicate it within the company and integrate it within all the departments so everybody's thinking about that it also follows the exact same philosophy that you need to make it simple and understandable, otherwise it just gets rejected and then your strategy is just completely useless because nobody is following it, nobody is thinking about that you're talking about, nobody is thinking about the simple messaging and the solutions to their pain points that you've come across. But if you can't communicate it in a simplified fashion to the rest of the teams, then it's almost impossible to integrate it within the business.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Right. Oh, Ember, we could talk for hours and hours, I think, and we will over a glass of wine really, really soon.
That would be lovely.
So for our listeners, where can they find you if they want to find out more, if they want to work with you and your team?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we are on digitalwillow.biz, or I'm Amber Williamson, and you can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the two easiest way, or otherwise our email is sayhello@digitalwillow.biz.
Fantastic. Any last words of advice or big tip you want to leave with our audience today?
Oh my goodness. Last word of advice, I think, would be don't be frightened of testing things and iterating. Doesn't matter if you fail what you're testing, in particular in digital marketing, but if you don't do anything, that's the biggest failure.
Oh, love that. Alex, any closing words?
No, I don't. I like that one. Let's stick with that one. I don't want us to leave on a worse piece of advice. That was a good one.
Oh dear.
Oh, it's been so great chatting to you, Amber. Alex, it's fun as always, and I will see you again soon.
Thank you so much, both. Bye.
Thank you very much, Amber. Cheers, Erica. That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.